In order to maybe make it clearer what we mean when we talk about the various different spectrum of characteristics of an operation, of a transformation process, might be best to look at a little diagram here that's been produced actually by Slack from part of his magnus opus on operations management, which is on the reading list. So let's have a quick look at what's going on. The idea is, of course, is what are the actual implications and effects of the various parts of the spectrum. The first is volume. So what's the implication of a low volume production? Low repetition. Each staff member performs more of the jobs. Instead of actually having Adam Smith's division of labour, people actually just get on and do the whole job or do larger parts of a job. There can be less systemization of it, less ways of saying this will take stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, stage 6. There's not a systematic approach. There can be variety to go through the low volume changes very much for each individual could do it. And of course it means high unit cost because there's not the ability to divide the cost over a number of different things. High volume means it's very easy to set up an Adam Smith style division of labour. People can specialise. There can be a systematic steps everyone has to go through, leaps and go through. Capital intensive, instead of having to train lots of people to work on it, you can actually do a lot of it using automated machinery, which can be very expensive to set up, but over masses of production, bring down the unit cost. The unit cost can be very low, despite the need for very expensive capital perhaps to start the job off. Variety. What are the implications of high variety? Well, the implication of high variety is that it's very flexible, it's very complex. Customer needs have to be carefully matched to the different varieties going on. You have to make sure exactly what part of the different varied things you can produce is each customer looking for, and what are the high unit costs they're going there, because each individual unit is going to be far more specialized. You may have a high volume, low volume, high variety, but that doesn't necessarily mean that actually it's different than that. So the point is, of each one that you produce it, there'll be quite high costs associated with that particular unit. Low variety means it's well defined, again, it can be standardized, it fits in well with production, just as high volume, low variety is the ideal one for actually very low unit costs for production the same, and everybody gets the same, there's very little different put forward to people. On the variation in demand section, the cost implications for high unit cost comes with high variation in demand. If you're having to store things for a long time, if you have to have different capacities, if you have to try and anticipate and plan what's going ahead, you have to change all the time. You have to be very flexible. You have to maybe have people available. You have to be overstaffed at certain times because otherwise you're in danger of being understaffed at others. And you need to actually have a constant team, perhaps of salespeople or for other people, customer relationships people who are trying to keep in touch with the market to work out exactly what is likely to happen next, so that you have a complete relationship with demand and understanding of demand. In this case, the low unit costs tend to be associated with a low variation in demand, where things are stable, things are routine, very predictable. You know what you sold this week is likely going to sell next week. It's likely going to sell the week after. Things it means that you can plan your production very carefully. You can use the equipment will be always fully used. You can buy enough equipment to be constantly making the same every week, so you know how much equipment you need, how many machines you need. You don't have to have spare machines just idling a lot of the time, and of course this therefore then leads to comparatively low unit costs. Visibility, of course, the implications of high visibility is that actually things can get expensive. This is where the high unit costs in. If people can see people working, there becomes a low tolerance for waiting. Satisfaction might not be actually about quality of production, but actually how do people perceive production? How do people look when they're working? Everyone needs to be able to speak to the customer. In a hotel, it's very important that even people who might not be directly up front with the customers, but cleaning staff, etc., if they do meet with the customers, they have to be able to treat them with respect, have to know how to talk to them. People feel that what they're receiving is specialised, even if it isn't particularly specialised, even if they think they're getting the waiter's personal service, etc., it just does the same things to all of them. And this, of course, then leads into totally to a higher unit cost for you as you try and meet all these different customer demands and perceptions. And for low visibility, then there's this sort of idea that you produce, things that go into storage, and then of course construction comes later. Because the storage system and people aren't seeing everything the same, it means you can standardize things. You can actually have the production that's done along the same lines, and the material that comes out, and the products and services come out are standardized. Staff you don't have to have all your staff well trained in contact skills. Some of the staff can actually stay away from the customer. It saves costs of training, allows you to recruit people who might otherwise not have the skills for customer conduct. You can centralize things, you control things, you can make sure that things are done in the way that you want them done, and all these combined together bring down low unit costs. So this is the implications of where you stand on the volume, variety, variation, and visibility spectrums, as well as it implies that you can get away with low unit costs and high mass production, or whether you have to be more specialized, in which you have what we call bespoke production of one-off items, and of course all the areas in between.